We represent a company called PEMCO that is based outside in Hawaii is their main office. We tried very hard to get that account, but unfortunately they gave it to somebody else. So PEMCO has been a HUD contractor for over 15 years. They are an asset manager, just like every other asset manager that you run into with all the banks. So it's pretty much the same kind of system. You want to go ahead and flip it. There are actually two asset managers, you can flip it again, that handle HUD Homes in California. PEMCO is one, BLB Resources is the other one. So come on in, guys, and if you want to sign up, that'd be great. We are divided up into a new group called M&M3, and that it means management and marketing. And this is what PEMCO and BLB do. A HUD listing starts out with our Santa Ana office, and these are all the different managers that work under the Santa Ana office. There's a mortgage compliance manager. That's basically the person that gets the property and makes sure that we've got clear title and that we can pass it on to you. We have field service managers. They're the ones that go out, check the properties. They keep them updated and cleaned and lawns mowed. And HUD's very sensitive about the distress condition that a lot of the houses are in. So they do a lot to make sure that they are clean and lawns are mowed and well taken care of. Asset manager is what PEMCO is. And then there is a designated closing agent. We have two agents in this area that we use. It's all Chicago title. If you are north of San Joaquin Valley, you use the Chicago title in Roseville. If you sell a property south of Stanislaus County, it's Chicago title in Bakersfield. Those are the only two title companies they use, and they're set up especially to handle, the HUD account. So they're very efficient in the work that they do. Go ahead.
So Chicago, you said
north of Stanislaus County.
Okay, north of Stanislaus.
Yeah, is Roseville. And all that information is in your packet that you have. This is the name of the company that takes care of making sure that we have clear title. And they perform a series of duties just to make sure that in fact, we have one right now that somehow got slipped through the process, and we're having to wait now to make sure that we can get clear title to it to pass it on to the buyer. We're all ready to close, but it somehow slipped through. So that is basically their job that they do. Go ahead, Nita. The field service manager, we talked about that, what they're supposed to do, inspecting and securing, and they don't perform a whole lot of cosmetic enhancements. Really what they do is clean them out. So they trash them out, just like most of your banks will do on that. But they do provide the ongoing maintenance. Okay. Asset manager, that's what PEMCO is. They do the marketing and the management of the property, so anything that has to do with those aspects of it, that's what the asset managers do. Go ahead. And we talked about the multiple AMs in the region. This is, we are region 2S, so whenever you're going online looking for anything like forms that have to do with California, 2S is the region that we cover. It's Alaska, California, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington. And you'll find that you'll see some things that are different, particularly in Oregon, different forms that they use that we don't use here, but it's basically pretty much the same. Both asset managers get an equal distribution of inventory, so you'll see as many BLB listings as you will PEMCO listings. Go ahead, Nina. Again, this is basically the chain of that the property flows, and we pretty much went over that. Goes from the initial, a HUD property that HUD will have taken back is a 1 to 4 unit that's gone into foreclosure, and it was insured by HUD. So that's how we get them basically to start out with. And this is just kind of a flow chart that tells you how the property gets from the mortgagee all the way through to where we are now with it as a listing. Go ahead, Edith. Oh, this is a picture of a HUD home. I'm still waiting to see this one. I haven't seen too many that look like this. But this is their picture of what a HUD home looks like. And we are seeing a lot of them that are much newer, consequently in much better condition. The definition of what a HUD home is: a 1 to 4 unit single family residence acquired as a result of a foreclosure on an FHA insured mortgage. They vary in price, location, and condition. We certainly have seen them all over the state of California. When we go to the HUD Home Store website, you'll see that they are, it's a map of all of the United States, so you can go anywhere and look at any properties that HUD has for sale anywhere in the United States. They do an appraisal. They're offered at fair market value. It is a certified FHA appraisal, and all HUD homes are sold in as-is condition. And they really mean as-is. Go ahead.
If I could ask
Yeah, go ahead.
The appraisal also can be used for the if a new buyer is coming in under FHA.
Correct.
The appraisal can be used for the FHA.
Correct. Appraisals are good for 4 months. So if you're going to close after, you're getting kind of towards the end of the 4 months, there is an extension that you can do and possibly won't have to do another appraisal. But if another appraisal has to be done, then your buyer will have to pay for it.
How do you know what the appraisal is? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, that's all right.
How do you know what the appraisal is?
Well, we get a copy of the appraisal once the contract is accepted, but it's listed at the appraised price. So that's kind of how you know. There are no repairs. We do strongly recommend, just like everybody else, that you do get a home inspection. In fact, I've heard recently from one of our local appraisers that B of A, Wells, Chase, all the big guys are now asking to see copies of the home inspection. So kind of be prepared for that.
Going back to the appraiser, is that a local certified FHA appraiser?
I have to define local. Yeah, wherever. A lot of them come out of Sacramento. There's a guy in Manteca. It just whoever we get assigned.
But they're certified FHA.
Yeah, they are. Okay.
Not necessarily local to that
Yeah,
property.
yeah,
Now I know, but.
yeah. It's the same issue we. Yeah, it's the same issue we run into, and in fact, I think they asked Tom to leave the office the last time he was arguing with the appraiser because, we don't feel that somebody from Sacramento knows our territory as well as our local guys do, but that's what we get. Yeah. We haven't seen any Bay Area yet. I don't think. They've mostly been Sacramento, Manteca, not too bad. Okay? Go ahead, Anita. Okay, so we know they're performed by an FHA appraiser. It says 6 months, but that's now been changed to 4 months. We fought long and hard to get that changed because a 6-month appraisal in this market is just not, not worthy of what the prices are. So they do pay for the first appraisal, and then any second appraisal is your client is going to have to pay for it. Go ahead. Well, again, we review the properties every 4 months. We try to get them reviewed more often than that, just because of the market condition that they're in. But they will do a new appraisal every 4 months. So if the property has been on longer than that, we can get a new appraisal on it. Go ahead. Well, flip. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Go back again. What I was talking about is this 1004D, and that's the where the appraiser can go. Excuse me. The lender can review the appraisal, and if the underwriter will accept that appraisal, then we can move forward. And they usually might give you like 1 or 2 weeks leeway. They won't give you a 30-day leeway, but if you're in escrow really close to closing and then that 4-month period is over, you can get an extension. And that's something that's relatively new. Who can buy a HUD home? Anyone. We have 3 different categories: owner-occupants, investors, government agencies, and HUD-approved nonprofits. So those are all the different types of buyers. An owner-occupant is given Ben, you want to take a picture of this? A 30-day priority, which is one of the real advantages of HUD homes. So your owner-occupant does not have to contend with the investor buyer for 30 days. He has the advantage. So that's a real plus for your HUD home. They must occupy it for a year, and they cannot participate in a HUD. Cannot have participated in a HUD sale for 2 years after the purchase. So investors cannot bid until the 31st day, and we'll go into that a little bit more when we write the contract. There's no restrictions on investors. They can buy as many as they want. They have a couple of special programs that they have. Right now, none of them are active. There's the Good Neighbor Next Door. That's for areas that have been designated a certain type of area, and if you are a fireman, a policeman, an EMT, you can purchase a home if you live in that neighborhood. Teacher is another one in that neighborhood for half the price of what it's being marketed as. So, but right now there's nothing in your area, there's nothing in Stanislaus or San Joaquin counties that the Good Neighbor Next Door is applicable. There's a lottery round. Lottery round is properties on the market for 5 days, and then you can go in and it's mostly nonprofits that purchase them in lotteries. We don't see a whole lot of those. I think in the year we've seen one. Nobody purchased it, so then it went back on the market. So just to let you know that when you see those online that say lottery, you can't buy them for that first 5 days. And flip back because there's a thing about the commission. Oh, that's just for lottery rounds. Never mind. I'm sorry. Again, there's the Good Neighbor Next Door, and you can just flip through that. That's still about the Good Neighbor Next Door. It talks about the financing. All this stuff is on the HUD website. So if you ever come up with an area that's been designated for a Good Neighbor Next Door financing, and your lender will know that, you can go onto the HUD website and pull up all the information, and it'll tell you exactly what requirements they are. HUD will not pay any closing costs for this particular product, but they will on your traditional sales. So that's one of the differences in this. And on the Good Neighbor Next Door, although they're paying half of market value, they still have to qualify at market value. So, and that's what they have to write their offer. Tony?
Is there a lot of those homes around here?
No, we don't have any. We should, but we don't. We certainly should in Modesto, but there's no designated areas. And you know, there's usually publicity about it in the newspapers. They'll tell you. We'll get information on it, and we'll send it out, and we'll let everybody know. But that's the only way that I know of right now. They also had a program that was $100 down. That program is not there anymore. And so whether that'll come back or not, your lenders have it on their sheet, but it's just not available. But it's something that could come back at any time. So, and we'll, you know, when those things come back, your listing brokers will all get that information to you. We'll make sure that you guys know about any of these programs, because that's part of what we have to do as the listing brokers, is to get the information to you as soon as we possibly can. So we certainly do it through our marketing meetings and through our different brokerages. These are just a list of some of the websites that you could get information on. HUD Home Store is the one that you'll probably use more than any. You'll see a lot of stuff on social media. They'll do buyer outreach events so that, you know, we'll have events for buyers for HUD Homes. Go ahead. And then HUD's expectations for you are no different than your own expectations for yourself and your broker's expectations for you. We ask you to be professional. We ask you to communicate. We want to work together as a team. We are, as the listing brokers, we're very involved in the escrows. We're very involved in the marketing of the property. So we are available to you at all times. Anytime you have a question, anytime you have a concern, whether it's my listing or Anita's listing, you can call any one of us to get information on, you know, what issues you might be having. Go ahead. You will get from HUD, when you do when you get closing, they'll send you a sheet and ask you to do an overview of how the transaction was held. So they want to hear from you as to whether you thought, you know, the property was priced correctly, if the title company did a good job, if the agent was helpful, and they do that on every single closing. You'll see that come out to you. So be aware of that. We'll talk a little bit later on how you register for your NAID number and how you register as an agent. So we'll go through that for you so you can see. We'll actually go on the site and pull it up. Anybody that's a licensed real estate agent can sell a HUD home as long as your broker or you are registered with HUD. Initially, it used to be just the broker had to be registered, but they ran into a lot of problems with people using somebody else's NAID numbers. So now they're asking you as individual agents to go on and register as well, which is a good thing because as you're writing your contracts, it will auto-populate all your information. So it makes it go a little faster for you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, then your broker's going to, it does say 6 to 8 weeks for the process. When you go online, they tell you 2 weeks, but really 6 to 8 weeks. And they aren't going to tell you when you get your NAID number. You have to go online and keep checking to see that you've gotten it. So that's one way you'll know. Yours comes a little bit, and that's again for the brokers more so than once you register as an agent, you're good. Go ahead. And your broker must renew his NAID number annually. So it's a matter of just resubmitting all the forms once again. We recommend that you do it probably at least 2 months prior to your expiration date, because they're getting lots and lots and lots of requests for numbers. And so just to make sure, because if you're in the middle of a transaction and your broker's NAID number expires, that's it. It goes away. You lose it. So we don't want that to happen to anybody. So please make sure that you stay on top of that. Go ahead and we'll do that when we go in. Okay. When are the properties available for sale? We'll get a notice from HUD telling us that there is a property that they want us to go out and do an initial inspection on. We do our initial inspection about 3 or 4 days later, and we do all the pictures, anything, same as any other REO. Send all that information in. A couple of days later, we get a notice to do what they call a listing inspection. So we go out, basically do the same thing over again. The sign will go up then, and the lockbox will go on. Probably a couple of days after that, it will go into the computer and then go on to HUD Home Store. So there's a little bit of a lag time between when you see a sign go up and when it actually goes into the computer, but it will have the key box on it. They will all have key boxes on them. If you ever run across one that does not, please let HUD know, because that is a requirement. And we fought long and hard to get them to let us use the key boxes rather than have that key that everybody had to go to the office and pick it up and bring it back and forth. So do let us know if that's not something that you run into. So once that happens and it goes into the MLS, then it's available. Go ahead and see if I'm... Oh, yeah, this is just a little bit more about what I just ran through on all the different things that we have to do. We do have to do monthly inspections on the properties, and we do go out and look at each property at least once a month, take more pictures. If you ever see anything that is, any vandalism or any damage that's done to the property, please call the listing agent and let them know so that we can get out there, take pictures, get it to PEMCO and have it taken care of. We may take a picture of the air conditioner when we first go out there, and then it can be gone. So we need to know that stuff so that we can get those things taken care of. So it's pretty much what we do. We do get properties listed daily. They do have what they call the lottery round, and that's for special buyers. That's for nonprofits. It's actually a 5-day process now instead of 7. And so again, they're on for 5 days, and then they go back on the market for everybody else. When we talk about the 30-day exclusive period for owner occupants, there's actually a 10-day period where HUD does not look at any of the bids until the midnight on the 10th day. Okay? So they collect them up to those first couple of days. And then they will look at them on the 10th day. If they like one, then the property goes pending. And actually what we do is we take it off the market because it's not really pending until we get a ratified contract. So you'll see it go from active to TOM, and they will accept that bid. If they don't find a bid that they like in that first 10 days, then they will look at bids every day until they get one that they like. After 30 days, then an investor can submit a bid. So again, you've got that first 30 days that that is open for your FHA buyers. And the one thing that differs there that you will see is if they accept an offer within the first 10 days and then it falls out of escrow and it comes back on the market, it still has to go through that whole 30-day period of being available for owner occupants. So you'll see it come back on and it'll have a 20-day window where only owner occupants can make a bid. So it has to have that whole 30-day cycle before they can offer it to an investor. So that's just a little, you know, hitch that you might see sometimes. So go ahead. These are the different kinds of acronyms that you'll see, and they mostly have to do with the financing, insured, uninsured, the HOA. HOAs really hold us up a lot. If you make an offer on a property that is listed with an HOA, get the agent the information as soon as you can about who the HOA is, because most often there are back dues, there's liens, and to get those cleared, we have to go through several channels to make sure that, and HUD will clear those. But a lot of times we don't find out about them until the very end. We always get a prelim, and a lot of times they don't show up on the prelim because they haven't been filed yet. City of Stockton likes to file a lien on properties that are kind of run down, and that's another issue that we have to deal with. And they will pay them, but the sooner we know about that, the sooner we can get it taken care of so that we can close escrow in a timely manner. Go ahead. So you'll see that they have some condition codes that you'll see on them. Again, HOA, a lead-based paint. They will do anything before 1978. They will do a lead-based paint inspection. HUD will do it. They will pay up to $4,000 for the eradication of lead-based paint. Anything beyond that, the buyer will have to finance within their loan to take care of. So they will do that. They will also do a pest inspection for an FHA buyer. And these are just for FHA buyers, not investors. They will not do any of those inspections for investors or conventional. Yeah, thanks, Tom. And they will do the Section 1 items. That's it. They won't do Section 2. So Section 1, and they'll give you a clearance on the Section 1 items.
All financing?
FHA only.
FHA?
Yeah, FHA only, yeah. They consider investors to be, you know, people that need to take care of those things by themselves, and that's, you know, they're getting a good deal on the house, and that's why they do it that way. Go ahead. So this is, again, a little bit more about the lead-based paint stabilization, and again, $4,000 is the most. I know we've had a couple, I think they've all been over the $4,000. Yeah, so you need to prepare your people if they're buying something in that 1978 age, you know, that they need to be ready to step up to the plate. Go ahead. Yeah. There's different kinds of financing. You have an insured, which just simply means that it meets the FHA 203B standards, and there's no obvious repairs necessary to complete the loan. There's an insured with escrow, where we just talked about, where if it is less than $5,000, then you do an escrow holdback. And then there is uninsurable, which means that FHA will not insure it. Now, we had one that they considered uninsurable where they had taken the third bay of the garage and made it into a kitchen. Well, you know, all somebody has to do is come and tear that out. But according to FHA, that's not an insurable loan. So you'll still see really good properties that may fall into that category just because of some simple thing like that. But they will not make a loan on it. Go ahead. I think Tom pretty much covered the kind of a repair escrow. What you need to know is that HUD is not going to give you any credits, that any repairs like that have to be financed into the, you know, married into the loan. You're going to add that to the mortgage. You're also going to get, they're going to do it at 110%. That 10% goes to your lender for overseeing the distribution of the funds and to make sure that the work is done. So when you look at the bids online that HUD has done and posted, you'll see that there are two figures, and the figure that they deal with is that 110%. Again, using a licensed contractor. There are forms that you will fill out if you get to a point where your repairs are more than the $5,000, then you will have to. Are you resubmitting a contract on when you go from a regular FHA to 203K? But I believe there's just a single form that you have to do to change your financing. Yeah.
Forms and letter from your lender.
The reason I'm referring to Tom is in our team, I don't write any contracts. I don't do that because I'm the one that deals with you every day on the phone, and I don't want to let the fact that I know that we've written a contract interfere with anything that I have to tell you and help you, because we just don't think that's fair. So most contractual questions I'll refer to Tom because I just don't write them.
I said, how ethical.
Well, it just makes it easier that way. Go ahead. No repairs prior to closing. I mean, just explain to your people that they cannot go in. We did have one case where the fellow went in and he put in a stove and I think a couple of other light fixtures and stuff, and the field service managers went in and they took it out, and they took the light fixtures out, because you cannot do it. You just cannot do it. It's not their property, and of course HUD is the government, and they're very sensitive about somebody moving into a piece of property and something happening. So that's the reason for it. So please assure your people that they will have plenty of time to do their repairs, but they cannot do anything till we close escrow. Oh yeah, it's really important that you explain to your people that they do need to change the locks on the house as soon as they take possession. These keys, there are hundreds of these keys out there. So anybody that has a HUD key, even the old HUD key, can go into a lot of these properties and open them up. And it's just for security purposes that they should have a locksmith out there on that very first day to get those locks changed.
And do not rekey them
Prior to,
because field service managers are going out there on their regular inspections up until the day it closes. And if they go out there and can't get in, they're going to rekey it, they're going to charge the buyer it, and they might even cancel the escrow.
Yeah. So they're pretty sensitive about that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Can we address one issue
Sure.
in regards to the air conditioning that's going on in the process, and if you find that the air conditioner is gone,
Yeah.
or the guts of the air conditioner is gone in the middle of escrow,
Yeah.
what would be the...
You can ask.
You can ask.
You can ask.
Did everybody hear the question?
Yeah. So the question was, you're in the middle of escrow and somebody takes the air conditioner. What is HUD going to do?
We've seen
Case by
where
case.
they have said, we'll take care of it. That has been on an FHA transaction.
Right.
On an investor or a conventional, it's as is, you want to buy it or not buy it.
But what if, okay, say we record tomorrow and I do my walkthrough, whatever, say the day before, and everything's gone.
Well, then we don't close.
We don't
But
close.
you guys won't repair it, or that's
Well,
what you said?
I don't know.
You can request it,
Request it.
and what I can tell you is, there is not a hard and fast
Yeah.
rule on every transaction. That surprised that sometimes they'll say, yes, we'll take care of it. It's like, wow. Last time you basically said, hit the road, Jack.
Most of the time what I will say to you is, the answer I have to give you is no, but you call them. Because they'll better work with you than they will work with me. So call them, explain the situation. If we've done our reports and our inspections all along and done our 30-day inspections, they'll see that the air conditioner was there, it was there, it was there, it was there, and then it was gone. So between us and the field service manager, we're doing our inspections and moving the process along. Those times I think they're more apt to do it. And again, what Tom was saying about for an FHA buyer, they'll do a lot more than they will for investor. Mm-hmm.
So basically in the contract here, like in our normal CR contract, it says
going to be in the same condition as when they made the offer. That's not in.
Okay, just pretend you've never seen a CAR contract, okay? Just pretend it doesn't even exist.
So it's not
Because it
in
doesn't for
there.
them, okay? They don't care about it, they don't want to hear about it, it's their, you know.
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah,
it's not-
I know,
it's
no,
not-
No,
No.
it's not. And
no,
the HUD contract, first page, if anybody's been in real estate a long time, like I have, our original purchase contract was a one-page contract. That's what HUD's is. It just talks about primarily financing on the first page. The back side, there are some conditions.
yeah.
You really need to know what those are and have your buyer read them or explain them to them, because that covers what will and will not happen. And there isn't a
So
whole
they might
lot
do
that
something.
will happen for them.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
So they might do something for FHA if you had something missing or vandalism.
Yeah, vandalism,
typically they've taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
when,
Or
it's when air conditioners have been taken.
Electrical panels, things like that, they, Yeah.
Conventional or cash, nada.
that's,
Cash, I can guarantee you will be
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Conventional, possibly. Always ask.
yeah,
Okay.
Doesn't cost anything to ask, and all they can do is say no. But
okay.
I would say ask, and we're surprised sometimes.
Go ahead and flip that. So this is something we really need to to get with your lenders, because, for a lot of years, we haven't done any FHA loans, and there are a lot of lenders out there that have never done an FHA loan, and now not only are they having to learn and relearn FHA, but they're having to learn the new requirements from people like HUD. So you probably will end up knowing more about an FHA loan than your lender will. And we hear a lot of lenders say, oh, I'm an expert in FHA. You might be an expert in FHA, but you're not an expert in HUD's, the way HUD handles them. And again, the underwriters are having to be re-educated every day on how to handle these.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said something about clean, having a stove in there, don't put the stove in. And now on an FHA loan, I've done FHA with different lenders, and some of them, the appraiser makes the condition that you have to have a stove in
It is not a requirement of FHA, but it could be a requirement of the underwriter. And that was a lesson I had to learn. Yeah, it really is not an FHA requirement that there be a stove. Now, if there's a cooktop, if it's a built-in, then that's a different story.
And it all depends on the appraisal.
Right.
Whoever goes out.
Right.
I know.
Every appraiser's different.
Right.
I know.
And these appraisers don't call it out. I mean, the FHA appraisers that HUD has, they don't call it out. They know not to call it out.
It's when you either are beyond the time frame, you need a new appraisal, or lenders many times will say, I'm ordering my own appraisal. I don't care about that appraisal. They shouldn't be able to because there's a case number.
Right.
So they shouldn't be able to do it. But some of them figure out ways to get around that and order an appraisal. Then they want everything done according to their appraisal. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you have a lender that wants to do that, you might as well tell your buyer right then, the deal's probably never going to close.
Yeah,
You
find
need
somebody else.
Someone that understands exactly how HUD does it and will work with that. And they're not going to call out stoves, and they're going to call out health and safety.
Yeah.
You have to have a toilet, you have to have water, you don't necessarily have to have, a shower, but you got to have water there. You have to have electrical, but you don't have to have something to cook on.
So takeout. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You've talked about all the other financing,
Uh-huh.
but another one that's really cropping up, or at least I've had a number of them, are VA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is the VA looking?
Hallelujah.
Yeah. We have one right now. Yeah.
VA has requirements that FHA will not do.
Yeah.
VA many times wants a roof inspection.
They're strict.
FHA is not going to do it.
Well, HUD's not going to do it. Yeah. HUD is not going to do it. Yeah.
HUD is not going to do it. How we've gotten around it is the buyer can't pay for it because the agent pays for it. They want to make the transaction, they're going to pay and get the roof searched. If you see it and you know you're not going to get it, then it's not going to happen. Don't even bother writing the contract.
Yeah. We had one up in Jamestown that we got all the way down to closing and found out that VA does not make loans on manufactured homes. Never knew that before. So, there's just a lot of requirements with VA that that don't make this, that won't make these deals work. Go ahead. Okay, we went through all this. Extensions. When you write a contract for HUD, you have two different time frames, a 45-day and a 60-day. And it's a 203K that's a 60-day. Every other transaction, whether it's cash, conventional, or FHA, is a 45-day escrow. Okay? So that's the time frame that we work on. Now, cash deals, can we get them done sooner than that? Yes. But you don't ever put anything but 45 days in your contract. They'll send it back to you. Silly as it might seem, they'll send back a contract. And then there are some other things that in your contract that Tom will go over with you. So it comes time to close, and we're at the 40th day, and we're not ready. And it's not because you're not ready, and it's not because we're not ready. It's probably because your lender isn't ready. So you will have to ask for an extension. Extensions are based on the price of how much you pay for an extension, and you have to pay for those extensions, are based on how much the property sold for. And there's a chart that we'll see here that will give you the numbers. You have to send your extensions in 5 days before your escrow period is to end. So what I'm going to tell you is you need to have everything to title by the 40th day. And then if you do that, you still have to send in your extension. We can probably get the fee waived because you're there, the lender's there, it's just title and HUD that aren't ready. And they'll often waive that extension. They will also refund you any unused days if you close, if you get a 15-day, all extensions are 15 days. If you get a 15-day extension and you only use 10 of those days, then the title company will credit you the other 5 days back. You'll get your money back on those. So there's some, upside to that. But you really have to stay on top of these extensions. We try to stay on top of them for you. PEMCO sends you emails saying, hey, your 5 days is coming up. You need to do something about it. All extensions are sent to the title company, and then they hold the deposit, and then the forms are sent on to PEMCO for them to process. So extensions are something you really, really want to keep an eye on. They're telling us that they're not going to do any more than 2 extensions. There have been some circumstances where we've gotten them to, say that you don't have to send them the money. There have been circumstances where we've gotten them to extend them on for a 3rd and even 4th extension. And a lot of times it almost always has to do with the lender, and almost always has to do with some issue. Yeah, and it's almost always the 2 or 3K where we are into 4 and 5 extensions. But they don't want me to tell you that you can have that many extensions. So I think all the rest of this, termites we talked about, it's section 1 being done. Go ahead, Anita, flip it. Any of you can advertise a HUD home. Doesn't just have to be because it's an open listing. And that's how we put them into the MLS. So if you want to run an ad on HUD Homes, you're certainly welcome to do that.
What about open houses?
You can have them if you work for the specific, yeah, but other than that, no, you can't. You could be there for a really long time. I don't know if that said you could be there for a really long time. Yeah.
When I first started the business,
Yeah.
that's all I did was sell HUD homes, and my broker used to make me do houses.
But you can do it for your broker.
But back then it was $500.
Yeah.
No, it was any broker. It was
Any broker.
Oh, no, yeah. No, now it's just,
So now it's just
and, they tell us,
broker, which the
Yeah.
broker is the company.
yeah,
So an agent within that company could.
okay,
We're
Yeah.
a good agent always.
yeah. Yeah, I love having agents have ours open. I mean, we want you guys to write them up. I mean, it's nice when we write them up, but we don't write that many of them up. We really want you guys to do it. We want this to be a resource for you. Go ahead. Then there's just, certain advertising regulations, and they're the same as you can't call it a distressed or damaged or any, you can't refer to it in any negative way. You can't imply exclusivity. I'm the HUD expert or whatever. They don't allow us to use the word HUD in any of our advertising. So they, but there's just some, nuances that they have about how you can use. You can certainly say HUD owned, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, if you want to do that, talk to the listing broker, and they'll set you up and get so that you could do that. Go ahead, Nita. Okay, yeah, so you can refer to it as HUD owned, HUD acquired, or just for sale, but none of that negative, distressed, foreclosed, government, although it is all of those things. We can't call it all those things. So, but yeah, talk to your listing broker if you have one in your office, and certainly have them open, especially now because, in the winter we can't do it. It's too darn cold and there's no heat, or so this is a good time to do it. Go ahead. Yeah, we have to have all the equal housing opportunity stuff on any of our promotional stuff, so you guys need to have it on yours as well. So if you're doing a flyer, if you're doing an open house and you're doing a flyer, please have the equal opportunity logo on your flyers as well. I think that's, go ahead.
I have a question. Say if I write one up and the utilities are off, are the utilities are going to be on, or do we have to put the utilities under our name?
Well, HUD will not turn them on, and we've had to go around and around and around with almost every city in the county to get things set up so that they will let you, the agent, put it in your name. Well, because if the buyer doesn't buy the property, they want to be able to come after somebody. And that's kind of how we approached it, that they're going to find you before they find some buyer that canceled a contract.
The water is primarily going to have to be done by the agent.
Yeah.
If the purchaser already has an existing account with PG&E or
Yeah.
wherever the electric might be, like in Modesto, it's MID and TID and different ones, they can typically turn it on their name. But the water for almost every city,
yeah.
10 counties we work, the agent is going to have to turn it on. So you just tell your client, I'm going to have to turn the water on for you, and
when I get the bill,
write you a check, or it's your gift to them when they buy the house, however you want to do it, but you're going to get the bill. And remember to turn it off, because I just got some bills.
Oh. That's Raquel's fault. That's not my fault. And it's a 3
ounces of water,
yeah.
And, $80
Yeah. It's also a 3-day period that you have to turn the utilities on, and then they must be turned off again. So we'll often go back on our inspections and find that somebody failed to turn the utilities off, and we'll have to call the agent and tell them, hey, look, you need to get these off or you're going to have a big bill to pay. So go ahead. This is just more about advertising. And again, we talked about the electronic lock boxes. Sometimes people will put a key in their pocket and take off and not put it back. So anytime you run across anything like that, let the listing agent know so they can get another key out there. And a lot of the agents also put a combo box on, so in case something like that happens, they do have, and they'll give you the combination. But do let us know so that we can go out and take care of it. If you don't have access to the electronic box, you can come to the office and get a key, as the way that was always set up before. So we just need to know your business card is usually plenty to access to get a key. Go ahead. There's a sign-in sheet in every house. We ask that you sign in, even though the lockbox does to help us to register who goes in and out. They do like you to have it signed in. It's usually in the kitchen, usually on a cabinet, or on the counter somewhere. So if you would please do that. This is a bunch of stuff about open houses, and they want them. It says no open houses, but we can have open houses 11 to 2. But it's pretty open as to when you can do it. Just make sure that you secure the property when you're done. Go ahead. Again, it falls under the Fair Housing Act, and there is no discrimination in any way, shape, or form on HUD properties or buyers for HUD properties. Go ahead. We're going to go through and we're going to complete a contract in the second half, and this next part is a lot of stuff about the contract, and I'm just going to touch on a few things for you, and then Tom will and Theo will go over those. But all signatures must be in blue ink, and these are the most common errors that people do. So I want to go over them, and Tom will go over them again, and we really can't go over them enough. Anytime you pick up a pen for a HUD contract, just make sure it's blue ink. No matter where you're writing it. All the signatures, all the initials, everything has to be in blue ink. If there's anything that your broker has to attach, it has to be in blue ink. So try to remember that. Anytime you use the purchaser's name. In particular, on the contract, it's lines 1, 2, and 13. They have to be exactly the same. Exactly the same on all 3 lines. It can't be T.J. MacDonald on one line, Tom MacDonald on another, and Thomas J. MacDonald Jr. on another. It can't be that way. Everything, remember, you're dealing with the federal government. It has to be exactly the same. It also has to be the same on your deposit check. And your deposit check can only be a cashier's check or a postal money order. And it has to be made out to HUD or, not and, not a comma, HUD or Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Buyer. And if there are half a dozen buyers, everybody's got to be there, just like the line of the contract. Okay? Trusts sometimes, you know, we have issues with trusts because normally one trustee can usually go through, but if the trust is written as the Tom and Jeannie MacDonald Trust, then both Tom and Jeannie MacDonald have to sign. I mean, so you just have to be careful on when you're working with a trust like that.
Jeannie suggested also that the name, you probably take it right off the driver's license.
Yes.
That's the way it is on the
Right.
driver's license, so that it's consistent.
Because they're going to want to see it. Always when you meet with your client, get a picture of their, make a photocopy of their driver's license and their Social Security card, because there have been issues with Social Security. Certainly, there's a lot of names. If your name is Smith, we had an agent up in Fresno that wrote an offer on a property at Rusty Smith. Well, Rusty is not his real name, so when they went to look him up in the Department of Real Estate, they couldn't find a Rusty Smith. He had to supply them. The agent actually had to supply them with his driver's license and his Social Security card. They check you on an FHA sale. They check you every time, your lender does, to make sure that you have an active license and that you're who you say you are. They check the buyer. So we've run into some interesting things. So it just behooves you to get that stuff up front. You may not need it. Whenever we have to do it, we always tell the buyer, look, when we get ready to close this account, we're going to shred that, and nobody's going to see it. It's not going to go in a file anywhere, because people are sensitive about their Social Security number. But it goes on the contract, so we have it anyway.